Hi, everybody. This is exciting because I think you all know if you've ever met me or if you've ever listened to me or if you've ever seen any of my emails, you know how much I love Southern Africa. One of the most special places in my heart from the time that I went, from the first time I ever set foot, it captivated me. And I think it's been such a joy in my life to have had clients in Africa and to be able to have sold it and presented it and promoted it. And I find that every day, every year, it gets better and better. The people I meet and the people I get to work with, and I think you'll find the same thing as you start to sell more and start to present it more. It's a destination that can feel complex and it can feel overwhelming sometimes, but that's the reason why we do these things, because we want to introduce you to some of the best partners in the region that can pull things together. And we also want to, at the same time, share more about some of the hidden gems that sometimes you don't hear about all the time that you should know about so you can sell more effectively. So I'm really excited today. We've got a couple of great presenters here. I'm going to say hello to everybody and welcome them. We've got Peter Sawyer from Private Safaris. He's managing the Namibia office. And then we've got his colleague and partner in crime, Lucinda Kiefer, who's in the Cape Town office for Private Safaris, looking after South Africa and the like. Then we've got Taryn Van Wyk from Fancourt, which is you're going to be overwhelmed. If you haven't seen it before, you're going to absolutely love her presentation. And we have Ali from Inspirational Places, who will be joining us in just a bit. And she's going to be sharing some beautiful hotels in Namibia and also Cape Town. So we look forward to that too. So Private Safaris is a DMC that you all know I proudly represent, full disclosure, and they are just so creative, capable, wonderful, and they really get a sense of what your client needs. They listen, they ask the right questions, and they just present things in such a beautiful manner. So what we're going to be doing is breaking this section into two. We're going to be talking to Peter about Namibia, and he's going to be sharing all of the wonders there and hopefully making it a little bit easier for you to understand how it all works. And then we're going to tip over to Lou, and we're going to chat a little bit about South Africa. So I'm going to turn it over to Peter first, and he can take it away on Namibia.
Thanks so much, Gabby, and thanks for kickstarting us, kicking off the proceedings. I think the way you've set it up is so true. Africa's got so much to offer, and particularly Southern Africa is a sub-region, which is the area that we specialize in. And I think the best way to familiarize everybody with Southern Africa is for you to see it through my eyes. I've been very fortunate. I've grown up in Southern Africa. I've traveled extensively, and I'd just like to share some of the highlights of Southern Africa with you, and areas that I've been privileged to experience over the years, and that I feel add huge value, and that future travelers to Namibia or to Southern Africa will definitely appreciate and enjoy. I am based in Namibia, so I'm going to be biased. I'm going to start off with Namibia. Namibia is well known for its sand dunes, some of the highest in the world, but I'm actually not going to focus too much on that. I'm actually going to talk about the living desert. Namibia is also known, the Namib Desert is also known to be a living desert. And the reason for that is it's a combination of, there's a coastal fog that moves in from the cold Atlantic Ocean, moves in, and when it comes into contact with the warm sands of the Namib Desert, it forms this mist or this coastal fog, and that brings an incredible amount of moisture into an area that for most of the time actually has very, very little rainfall. So we have a source of moisture coming in, which is extremely beneficial in what would be traditionally a dry environment. And then we have from the east blowing in winds that come in from the center of the country, and this is an area that is not a desert, it's primarily savanna. And what these winds do is they bring in little pieces of plant material that's called detritus. That plant material gets blown into the desert. Quite often it forms at the base of the sand dunes, and that actually forms the building block with the moisture that comes in from the ocean, and the detritus, the plant material that gets blown in from the interior, that forms the building block for all sorts of other animals and critters that will start thriving in this area. And that is where we get beetles coming in, and that brings in reptiles and rodents. They bring along completely different species of birds, and then all of a sudden you get larger mammals that start coming into the area as well. So it's because of the foundation of the moisture and the vegetation that blows in, that all of a sudden we have an environment that in all essence should be completely devoid of any form of life. Now all of a sudden is able to sustain the life forms and various life forms. And that's why the Namib Desert is called the living desert. Another part of the country that is extremely unique in Namibia is the far northwestern part of Namibia, and it's called the Kunene region. The Kunene gets its name from the Kunene River, which is the border between Namibia and Angola. And this area is a completely different type of desert to the southern part of Namibia, which is the Namib Desert and the Sand Sea. So all those high sand dunes. This is a harsh, rocky desert. It's also called a semi-desert because it has a slightly higher rainfall. And this particular area has a lot of desert-adapted wildlife. It also has nomadic pastoralists, so people that have livestock and live in that area. They're farmers that move around in that area. And the amount of desert-adapted wildlife and flora and fauna that you find in this area is incredible. What also makes this an extremely interesting area for me personally is the fact that the geology in the northwestern part of Namibia and the geology that you find across in South America is the same or very, very similar, which goes back to the whole theory of the two continents at one stage being united, being together, South America and Africa, in the supercontinent that was called Gondwana. And then millions of years later, with a lot of volcanic activity, these two continents separated and formed what we have today known as the Kunene region. This area is also has one of the highest populations of free roaming black rhino anywhere in the world. While we refer to them as free roaming, as the wildlife in this area is not within a protected area, it's not within a nature reserve or a game reserve. The animals live in a large tract of land amongst other inhabitants, human inhabitants, and they've all got to coexist together. And this, for me, what makes it incredible. There's a lot of other wildlife, not just the black rhino. We also have desert-adapted elephants. We have the southern Angolan giraffe, and we also have desert-dwelling lions that you quite often find in these areas as well. And because of the wildlife and human populations in this area, you quite often have the potential for what we call human-wildlife conflict, where wildlife and humans have a conflict situation where there's an encroachment from various sides into people's living space, and this can quite often create distress in an environment. The best way to handle conflict in these areas is for local populations and local communities to actually see the benefit of having wildlife in the areas and for them to live amongst the wildlife. And the best way that this actually happens is through tourism. With tourism entities or with lodges in the area, this is where people within the communities get a direct benefit. They're able to get jobs and have employment within those communities. Or if there's various custodianship programs within those communities, then the people within the communities can get jobs either as wildlife custodians or as involved in various conservation projects in the area. And for them to have that direct benefit is a huge advantage. As I mentioned earlier, this area is one of the largest populations of free-roaming black rhino in the world. And one of the greatest success stories in this area is an organization called the Save the Rhino Trust. Since the peak of rhino poaching in 2013, the area that is under the custodianship of the Save the Rhino Trust has seen an 80% decrease in rhino poaching. And this is really a huge success story and is all based on communities' involvement. The community see a direct value in having wildlife there, and they also get employment as far as being rhino rangers, and they also educated through the various organizations in that area. So this is what makes not only conservation but communities work so important together in these particular areas that are pristine. Carrying on in my journey, I'm going to first of all detour a little bit to a country just north of Namibia called Angola. Angola is most probably known for its riches in oil and in diamonds. But what I want to refer to now is the fact that Angola is really important for a lot of the rivers that flow down actually into the rest of Southern Africa. Some of the main rivers in Southern Africa actually have their source in Angola, and that would be the Zambezi River, the Okavango River, and the Nkwando-Lanyanti River. So they all have their sources in Angola, and they then flow down into Zambia, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. Where these rivers meet is an area known as Kaza. This is the Kavango and Zambezi conservation area. It's the world's largest transfrontier conservation area. And it's also one of the largest, has also one of the largest areas with elephant populations in Africa. There's also a lot of other wildlife that you find in these areas: wild dogs, buffalo, hippo, rhinos, lion, crocodile, and most of the other plains game that you'll find. There's also a significant amount of people that live in the area. So once again, there's potential for human wildlife conflict. And through the various organizations that you find in the area, there's a lot of work that gets done to mitigate the possibility of human wildlife conflict, and also that people can see the value of having wildlife in the area. So this helps then reduce poaching, reduces wildlife crime, and it also helps with managing habitat in the area, so that it manages the habitat loss in those areas. Definitely one of my most favorite areas in this sort of northwestern or northeastern part of Namibia is a very small park. It's called Nkasarupala. It's Namibia's largest wetland. If you have a look at the picture on your screen, with most people that have the perception of what Namibia should look like, you think of the deserts. No one would really expect to see so much water still as part of Namibia. And for me, this is what makes it a really unique area. Something else that really brings in a sense of nostalgia to me, for those of you that have traveled in Africa before and you followed any of the early explorations, Sir David Livingstone, that is famed for discovering Victoria Falls. He actually spent time in this particular area, so in a very small village just outside of the Nkasarupala Park, in the mid-1800s, before he even ventured on and discovered the Zambezi and discovered Victoria Falls. He befriended a chief in the area and he spent a couple of months living there. And in his journals, he reported, and I quote, "I found the Garden of Eden." So even back in the day when he was traveling, he found that this area was to be so incredible. And then something else that's just popped up on my radar, which is a great accolade, I think, and it talks about discovering new destinations. As last week, the National Geographic has just ranked this region as one of the top 25 up-and-coming safari destinations to visit in 2022. So put that on your radar. Hopefully you can share that with guests, and hopefully we can start sharing this beautiful area with people. Moving on again, I'm going to move out of Namibia. I'm going to move slightly further east and start heading off into Botswana, a country that everybody knows because of the Okavango Delta, but I want to focus on something that's slightly different today and probably not as well-known a phenomenon. When we talk about migration in Africa, everybody thinks of the Serengeti. The Serengeti is extremely well known for the migrations that you get up in the Serengeti plains. But there's also a huge migration that takes place in Botswana. And this takes place at the beginning of our rainy season, where the animals, specifically the zebra, that are up in the north of the country, so they're normally in the sort of Savuti area, so between the Delta and the Chobe River frontage. After the rains, they'll then start moving in a southeasterly direction. They'll then migrate over a period of about 2 months. They'll migrate down towards the Makgadikgadi Pans, which is in the Kalahari Desert. This area would have received a significant amount of rainfall, and they'll spend 2 to 3 months down in that area, just enjoying the lush grasses of the Kalahari and the shallow pans that form around the Makgadikgadi. And then as the pans start to dry up and the seasons start to change, they'll then begin their return migration to be back up in the sort of Savuti area for the start of winter, as it starts drying up again in the south, where they'll obviously have more permanent water sources that will sustain them through winter. So the area the distance that the zebra covers is over 300 miles. And at any one stage, you'll have up to 30,000 zebra being part of the migration, which is something really, really incredible to experience. And then also just being down in the Makgadikgadi area, when there's such huge concentrations of zebra on those vast open plains, is really magic and something that has to be experienced. I'm going to be moving on then to the Kruger National Park. It might seem quite a jump around compared to where I've been in Namibia and Botswana, but it also takes me back to a very very special time in my life. I was very fortunate to live in Kruger National Park for 3 years. On everybody's sighting list that visits Africa or joins a safari, if you're going out with your ranger and he asks you what animals you would like to see, most people always say they would like to see predators. They would love to see lions. And in this particular area, the phenomenon of having mega prides is something that's quite unique. What is a mega pride? A mega pride is a pride of lions. It can be up to 40 lions in one pride. This is mainly made up of females and sub-adults and youngsters. And what happens is generally a larger pride of lions. The females will give birth within a relatively short space of one another, and then you have the combination of all these litters, and they form these super prides. What may happen from time to time is the prides may split, so the mom might take some of her litter off because of either competition within the pride, or if there's hunting pressure, so she might just fragment from the pride for a bit. But then as the lions get older, as the cubs get older, these prides actually come back together again and form these massive prides of lions, which really is incredible to see. I was living in an area in Kruger, and we had a mega pride called the Shishangan pride, and it really was a privilege to see them. Having grown up in Africa, you become familiar with seeing lions, but I can tell you now, there's nothing like seeing a mega pride where you all of a sudden see, up to 30, 40 lions together in one pride walking down the road. So that is something that really needs to be on everyone's bucket list. And there's only a few places in the world, with Kruger being one of them, where you can actually see lion prides in such numbers. And obviously only at a specific time when the lions are breeding. So leaving some of the wildlife behind, I'm going to move on down to another region of South Africa that I think is quite popular with most visitors to Africa and Southern Africa. It's definitely one of my favorite regions. It's an area where I can combine two of my biggest passions, the one being wine and the others being marine mammals. And then within a short space of, it's about a 2-hour drive from Cape Town, there's an area known as the Hemel and Aarde Valley. That translated means heaven and earth valley, and basically means that the mountains in that area reach up so high that it feels like they're reaching the heavens. This is one of the top wine growing regions in South Africa, where they produce some of the best varietals. It's well known for its Chardonnay, it's well known for its Pinot Noir, but a lot of other great varietals are grown in this area. And then you also have this incredible fynbos biome. It's what they call the Cape Floral Kingdom, which is one of the richest plant biodiversity kingdoms in the world. It has a greater biodiversity than the rainforest in South America. So there's over 9,000 different plant species that you find within a very small region of the Western Cape, and very few people actually know about it. So you have a combination of these incredible nature reserves with biodiversity. You have an incredible wine growing region, and then to top that all off, not too far away is a small town within Walker Bay called Habitas, and this is one of the top whale watching destinations in the world. So you can either go out, depending at the time of the year, on a boat and watch the whales from the sea, or even just walking along the promenade in the town of Habitas. You get great sightings of southern right whales, humpback whales, and even Bride's whales. And the best time of the year for whale watching is between June and December. My journey started off in Cape Town, so I'm going to end in Cape Town. To me, what makes Cape Town really special is just the diversity of cultures, and that gets filtered through the diversity of foods. There's obviously incredible national parks, there's wonderful heritage sites, there's the beaches. But if you ever want to be in a city, and in one particular city where there's such a diversity of food cultures, then Cape Town is the place to be. So if you're looking for fine dining, speciality cuisine, guilty pleasures, or even a hole in the wall or a pop-up concept, a food trailer, you get all sorts of things in Cape Town. And that's what makes it really unique. I studied nature conservation in Cape Town quite a few years ago, and that was actually my start of my career in tourism. I started off as a safari guide, and that's where my passion for sustainability and community-based tourism evolved and has developed over the years. So that was my journey through some parts of Southern Africa, obviously a small selection. And I think to end off, I'd just like to conclude with a short video that will just sum up some of the points that I've shared with you today.
Wow, that was beautiful. I think anybody could take that and watch that back like 100 times and learn something new every time they watch that. That was chock full of information, and that was just beautiful. And I'm watching that, and I was getting emotional because there's two reasons why I love that video and two emotions that I got right off the bat: inspiration and homesick. That's like the word that comes to mind, because I think when you visit anywhere in Southern Africa, you feel like it's your home almost instantly, and I miss it so much, and I can't wait to get there. So Lou, you are not from South Africa originally, and you have made it your home. So I feel like that too. I'm like, I didn't actually move there, but I do feel like it's part of me. What are some of the most magical things? Like, what captivated you so much? Just aside from, maybe it was a man, or, or an engagement. What makes you, just absolutely love it and wanting to adopt it as your new home?
Well, I mean, like you said, it's not my original home, and it wasn't anything as remotely as exciting as an engagement. But it was purely the destination. Um, I came here 14 years ago now, and I haven't left. It's my home, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, we're still going to try and convince you to make it to put your roots here. But no, I mean, like you said, it's you come to this destination, and you never want to leave. Your heart is always here. So, I mean, there really is true. I'm living evidence of that. But for me, I mean, just listening to Peter, I mean, I learned so many things there as well. And it goes without saying, the wildlife, the flora, fauna, the environment is absolutely phenomenal. But for me, what really captivated me and really kind of made me want to stay are the people. Throughout all of Southern Africa, each culture has its own nuances and incredible stories and histories and the vibrancy to them. But it's the authenticity which really resonates with me. The stories people have, the communities that make it through really really tough times are inspiring. And as a collective of regional countries in Southern Africa, I have to say there's a wonderful sense of optimism, which you can't help but want to be surrounded by.
I love that. And it's permeable because you and I haven't seen each other in a long time, but we've stayed on the phone and we've talked this, and it's just the resiliency
Yeah.
of everybody. And we're all kind of on a whole nother side. So I can speak to that. So what are some of the fun things that people might not realize about South Africa? Because you touched on it. It's safari, but it's way beyond that. Is it the
Yeah.
food, the healthcare system, all good things? Like tell us some things that people don't really know.
Well, but that's the thing. I think you've hit that nail on the head straight away, and I think we just saw it with what Peter spoke about. It's just how diverse as a region of the world it is. People generally think of Southern Africa and they think safari, right? Which, as you can see, there are so many sides to safari that we touched on a little earlier with Peter's presentation. But it's the diversity of what's on offer. There is literally something for everybody. The infamous 2010 World Cup, sports just exploded onto the scene. There's a huge amount of culture that we've touched on, the food that Peter kind of gave us a little taster on. But what is great to really focus on is how we have the best of both worlds here. We have the Western infrastructure with the heart and soul of Africa. And for me, that, for travel and the opportunities that come with that are huge. I mean, you're coming on a long journey from the States. So, instead of just focusing on the safari side of things, it's looking at, what other passions can you combine with that? And that's the opportunity that Southern Africa provides. So, absolutely, we'd love to introduce you to the various safaris that are on offer. But, if you love golf, Taryn will touch on that later. There's so many opportunities there. You can have a winelands holiday. You don't have to go to the different countries to experience so many different things. So that for me is really is quite surprising when you really kind of delve into the destinations. And I think everything that also is on piece of top of mind at the moment is the standard of healthcare here is absolutely phenomenal. People do get air-vacked into Southern Africa from other regions of the continent because the medical system is second to none. So as I said, it's the best of both worlds. Infrastructure with real vibrant heart.
So important to know. And if somebody's coming for the first time, which many people do, I mean, you have a lot of repeat visitors, but let's not talk about the typical stuff. You're a mom, I'm a mom. Okay, let's maybe go into families even too. What is a great way to do it for the first time, considering that we have, very little vacation time? We've got to pack a lot in. Give us a good first timer.
I think first and foremost, I'd say for a first timer, you've got to do it with a trusted partner. And that's not just the practicalities behind it. It's like, as you said, it's opening up the hidden gems. And it's really delving into, what do you really want to take out of the destination? You can do a Cape Point, but did you know you can do it and go foraging? You can go trekking through the reserve, you can pick stuff for supper, and then you can cook it with one of the top chefs in the region. If you're into dance, we can connect you with a dance school, and your kids can do a ballet lesson in Kailicha with a community project. From a safari point of view as well, I mean, you mentioned families. Obviously, we've got the well-known Kruger side of things. There are some wonderful options along the garden route and into the Eastern Cape, which are fantastically family friendly. They are deemed malaria free, so a lot of families don't want to have to necessarily take the medication that you would need to or would be recommended to take if going to the Kruger areas. There's also the Madikwe region as well. So, I mean, what we're finding too, obviously, with the past 18 months, a lot of bookings have rolled over. So getting availability in the Kruger is increasingly challenging. We do like a challenge, so we're not saying no, but it's a good opportunity to start looking to the other hidden gems that you can do. And I mean, it's looking at social distancing. There are some fantastic villas that you can look at in Cape Town, and also within the game reserves, family-friendly villas and what have you. So, I mean, depending on, as I said, on interest and what people want to do, there really, really is something for everybody.
I love that. And I was actually just going to ask you about Kruger because it is always, it gets the most attention, but I'm glad that you brought that up because to not have to take medication and not have to worry is a huge thing. And then I think, finally, I'd love for you to tell people I guess how easy it is to connect, because Americans love to do more than one country at one time. So we talked about Namibia, it's relatively easy. What about some of the other areas, Vic Falls, and how easy is it for somebody to do? And what's the connectivity like if they want to do South Africa plus something else?
Well, regionally, it's incredibly well connected. We have the airlines that connect all the obvious, and getting about is actually it's incredibly straightforward. Like I mentioned, that the infrastructure is there, and the networks, the travel networks, are very very easy to navigate. And obviously, we're here to make sure, especially with the new times and the new requirements, how best to connect the dots. And I think as well, what is wonderful about Southern Africa is, as Peter so amazingly just showed, the huge variety of what's available, and it really is going back to the hidden gems within each destination. I mean, if you look at Victoria Falls, I mean, bucket list. Taking a microlight over the falls is if you can do that, it's an absolute must. But at the same time, did you know that taking a journey across for a day trip into Botswana, you're at the meeting point of 4 countries, where you can actually see Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, and Botswana. So it's a really, just this little unique things that you can go, okay, wow, I've really seen a completely unique, or experienced a completely unique moment.
Absolutely. And you brought up a point that I'll wrap up on, that you need a strong partner on the ground when you're booking, because there's so much we don't know still. Testing, borders, this and how to cross. And that's, I think, one of the most beautiful things that has come out of all of this is that you really see which partners have it together. And yeah, just kind of wrap up with us with just giving us the stamp of credibility with private safaris. How in tune are you with all of these changes all the time?
Oh, we have to be. I mean, it's a given now. I mean, we say with our COVID protocols, it just has to happen. And I think it's really the hand holding and the emergency contacts that are absolutely important. But I think just one more point, just to kind of really bring home, is after all of this turbulent 18 months, I think as a destination, tourism is reignited again, which is wonderful to see. But the one thing we are doing as a company, and what we really stand by, and Peter obviously touched on it at the end about conservation and sustainability, is travel with a purpose. And I think now more than ever, it is more important to look to experiences which not only bring yourself a huge amount of gratification, but have a real impact on the communities and the nature and the wildlife that you are visiting. So what we're trying to do is work with partners that share that ethos, to make sure that any kind of investment into the destination is really channeled into where it's needed at the moment. So that comes hand in hand with our kind of post-COVID transitioning, should I say, and that's something really that resonates with all of us at Private Safaris.
Absolutely. So you're not only getting the journey of a lifetime, but in most cases, you're actually helping someone on the ground, and you're doing something good while you're having this fabulous time. So excellent. Always a pleasure. And we cannot wait to get more people over to Southern Africa. So thank you as always, Lou. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Gab.
All right, that was fantastic. And we are going to move now to a presenter who's got 2 gems to share with us. One beautiful lodge in Namibia and 2 surprising hotels in Cape Town. So I'm going to tip it over to Ali now from Inspirational Places to share some unveilings of some hotels you might not know of.
Well, thank you, Gabby, for that lovely intro. I'm delighted to be part of this incredible education about Africa, and more specifically about Namibia, and a couple of properties standing in Cape Town, which I'm privileged to be representing. So I'm Ali Hunt. Greetings from Cape Town, and a beautiful day today. I know you guys are going into winter, sorry for you, but I'm going to take you through a journey starting off in Namibia, where I've been privileged to be engaging with Habitas Namibia. It's a brand new product that started off in beautiful Mexico, just down the way from you guys. And they formed this incredible brand, and they have planted themselves as a beautiful new experience on a private game reserve just outside Windhoek, So easy access to get to and from airports and transfers, etc. When we move on to the next picture, girls, these are gorgeous guys. These are the co-founders, and the company is based in Mexico. However, none of them are Mexican. They actually formed an incredible friendship over a few years whilst they were engaging, they were studying in the States. And lovely Eduardo Castillo, who's sitting at my far right, is the musician. And this brand started through music. They put on a big concert at Burning Man. No one needs an introduction there. And from Burning Man, they realized that they wanted to create their own brand, and they started Habitas Tulum. And some of you may have heard about that. If we go on to the next slide, I'm going to take you back to Namibia, which is where they then started developing their second property. From here, they wanted to really start reconnecting with people. With that, they introduced this multi-sensory experience, from yoga to meditation. And then, of course, the really fun interaction is with going on safari. And we all know why most people come to Africa. It is purely because we're wanting to engage and explore safari. The various activities and programming that they like to talk about includes yoga. And I did yoga for the first time. My goodness, it was just crazy. But the coach, or instructor, she managed to do it to help me as a beginner. The adventure obviously is that wonderful safari experience, but more importantly, it's about the learning. And the learning is not just about your guests going on an incredible magical experience in Namibia. It's also about giving back to the community. So with Namibia being so far away from, lots of, potential training, etc., Habitas Namibia went hand in hand with a pop-up charity. They moved into Windhoek, where they set up the school for 5 months. They interviewed over 1,000 potential candidates. They took 70 and taught these young, enthusiastic, incredible individuals who were desperate to get into hospitality. They all graduated. Every one of them has got a job, and 20 of them ended up at Habitas Namibia. The next slide is going to be an interesting one, because I probably should have started with this one, everyone. This is Namibia, but Peter did a good job about your whole introduction about this magical country. And I would just need to share that Namibia has 2.5 million people living in it. South Africa, on the border, is sitting with 58 million. So what this country gives you is space. And what Habitas Namibia gives you time to just relax. And you can see where the logo is below the airport. The big dot there is Windhoek in the center of the country. And this is beautifully positioned as part of your itinerary, your bookend. So you're either doing it as your start to your trip through Namibia or as your end. No one really wants to end up sitting in a city when you're here to experience beautiful Namibia. The next slide will just give you an introduction on the type of accommodation. Now, we've gone really authentic in terms of canvas. And for me, you actually do want to go to sleep listening to the calls of the wild. The views, we are situated on the top of the mountain, the highest point of the reserve. And as you overlook the vistas, you can enjoy a beautiful gin and tonic. We all enjoy our gins in Southern Africa. And with that, watch that sunset. The daily programming is taking you on another adventure. So as I mentioned, the safari element, and if we carry on and give you a bit more of an indication of what is on offer, it's that private dining in the riverbed, yoga. That's not me. I wasn't as good as that. But Ro is the yoga instructor. She ended up being in the States for 17 years. She's come back with her worldly knowledge and her calm stature. And I tell you, you just de-stress talking to her. The next slide is going to show you something more exciting. The bush meditation. Guys, you literally sit in the bush on the dry riverbed. You've got wild animals around you, but please don't worry because we have got our wonderful guides who are armed, who are ready to protect you. We haven't got lions in the reserve, so you are actually fine. But it's so beautiful to be sitting in that bush and just being able to switch off and enjoy what is on offer. The whole thing, as I mentioned, is reconnecting with your peers, reconnecting with the other guests that are staying here, and the gathering spaces are conducive to that. The beautiful community table for dining. You don't have to eat with everyone, but you can. And I tell you, engaging with other people is just fabulous. And the friends, yeah, I tell you, you arrive as a stranger, and that old classic, you leave as friends. You genuinely do leave as friends. As a South African, I must add, I thought I loved our South Africans, but the Namibians are much better in terms of their friendships. They are amazing people. Safari, well, we didn't want to oversell the experience, so we got these beautiful giraffe, but we have got the rhino, we've got the ellies, we've got the cheetah, and as I said, it's part of your experience. It's not the whole reason for you being there. Namibia is not really known for its big five. On the accommodation side, 12 tents. We take 2 people per tent. We can fit up to 3 people if they're wanting to, if you've got a family. And, part of that, you sip your coffee in the morning, watching the sunset. It does get cold. And I think Peter did mention in the winter months at night, it is very cold. But don't worry, we've got the heaters, we've got the aircon for the summer months, and your guests can really just enjoy the immersement of being on property. We've got all the luxuries, so we do have flushing toilets. Don't worry, don't panic, everyone. And beautiful big open hot showers, but you're still really, really in the heart of the bush. The whole lodge is also under solar system, so you know that you're not taking electricity off the grid. You are completely relying on the natural environment, where we are really respectful for both the people, the environment, and the animals. So yeah, that is our beautiful Habitas Namibia. I hope you've enjoyed your little journey with me, and all the cool people enjoy coming here. It's also been a very, very good supportive experience for locals to come and enjoy the weekend here as well. So we've been very lucky to enjoy that. Then, guys, you're coming to where I'm presenting from, in Cape Town. Now, Cape Town is a very interesting, vibey city. And I know on every single itinerary that anyone puts through in the States, it has to include Cape Town. It's such a gem. The Mali Hotel is a funky, trendy hotel. It's 38 rooms. We're right on the beach, guys. We're right on the beach. So if your clients are not driving, self-drive, which most of them aren't, I know that they want to be able to go downstairs from the hotel, go for a walk on the beach. Don't swim in the ocean. It is freezing cold. It's the Atlantic. But as we move on into showing you a bit more around the property, we've got mountain-facing rooms and, of course, our ocean-facing rooms. Throughout this experience, you've got hands-on staff who are there to look after every need. A new addition is this incredible roof bar with a pool. Now, I mentioned the freezing cold water. It makes me laugh every time I come over the mountain and check this beautiful beach, because with the water being so cold, people are on the beach sunbathing, getting sand in their eyes, getting hair everywhere. Here you can lay around the pool deck, you can dip into the warm water and overlook the ocean. It is fabulous. Just down the road, you've got Cape Town City Centre, the V&A waterfront. It's literally 10 minutes away. Here you come to the recluse of the real sort of relaxed, it's almost like a Miami vibe, where you are in the heart of all the activities, restaurant choices of note, but along the coastline, you're 10 minutes from Cape Town, you half an hour to 40 minutes to Cape Point, which is definitely on your route of things to do in the area. Moving on, we will find the other experiences. So here just gives you an idea. We're in the heart of the Camps Bay area. There are loads of homes around here. It's very expensive to live here, so it's a great privilege to be able to stay here. And that's just taking a photograph back onto the property. And those mountains are called the 12 Apostles. So you can't get much better than that. Food at your feet, beautiful ocean, dip in the pool, and you end up with those beautiful mountains behind you. Now, the next thing is the Alphen Hotel. This is actually the style of the Mali. It's completely different. And before we go on to the next slide, I'm going to say to you, I'm going to give you an analogy. The people you're going to have staying at the Mali Hotel, I'm going to revert back to my running. So the Mali Hotel, I've got the state-of-the-art running kit. It's brand new. I've just come from the hairdresser. I'm plastered with makeup. I'm just glowing, but I'm not really running. Now, where the Alphen is, in the leafy side of this Constantia wine area, which is known as Cape Town Winelands, I would have my hair scraped back. I would have my proper running kit on, and I'd be sweating up a storm. So you've got the trendy people in Camps Bay at the Mali, and now I'm going to introduce you to the Alphen, leafy suburb of beautiful Constantia winelands. It is the oldest winelands in the country, and this hotel has just been refurbished. You can see by the buildings, it's old marries new. So interiors are brand spanking new with this lovely history of all these of this winelands area. What I love when I travel is to actually meet and engage and socialize where the locals meet. There are 3 restaurants here, and here you can hear the lovely chatter of the locals, where the guys come in for a beer, the girls are just finishing a spa treatment, and you are immersing yourself in that experience. You can see in this picture here, in terms of the setting, beautiful big grounds. Over the hedgerow there, you've got a green belt where you've got dog walkers, joggers, horse riders, and it really is a place of peace and tranquility, a place at this stage where some of your clients might not necessarily want to be in a city center due to the current state of affairs, but you're centrally placed, should I say, halfway between Cape Town and the Cape Point area. Beautiful for wine, some of the best wine regions in the area, some of my favorites, Sauvignon Blanc. This is the Sauvignon Blanc area. And it really is a real treat to say, I'm not going to stay in a shopping center. I'm not going to stay in the V&A waterfront. Let me immerse myself and get to understand what happens on the outskirts of Cape Town, which is, okay, me being honest, out of traffic, it's 25 minutes. In traffic, it's a little bit longer, but you all know about traffic and in the cities. Yeah, that was taken in winter, so the trees are a little bit empty. I mentioned the restaurants. There are 3 restaurants here. So when your guests check in, they don't have to go anywhere. They can just indulge and enjoy the choice of the local bar and the snack menu, the La Belle, which is a great breakfast venue and afternoon lunch and dinner. And then we got the more fancy of the 3 restaurants, which is for that special occasion. It's a very upmarket, affluent area to live in, and most people here have got huge big homes, so it's in keeping with you feeling special, but in this beautiful leafy suburb. So yeah, you would never marry up these 2 properties together, and I don't like to refer to this property as the lesser of the 2, but as you explain to your clients and as you really evolve and understand what Cape Town has to offer, it is a beautiful surprise to come back to this haven in the outskirts of Cape Town, but only 25 minutes away. Yeah, and you can't complain because this is my hood. This is where I live, and I'm blessed to live in this beautiful country. And I think that's a wrap from my side. And I just need to say back to Gabby. Thank you so much, everyone. And go sell Africa.
Wow, that was beautiful. And I hope you learned something just as I did about these properties that are, again, the theme is hidden gems today, and really they are just such treasures to behold. So thank you again. And we are going to move over to another area you might not be familiar with yet, but you need to be, especially after this next presentation. We've got Taryn from Fancourt, which is in a place called George. I learned about George, probably my first visit, 15 years ago. And this is beyond a golfer's paradise. People know Fancourt for golfing, but there's so much more that this property offers, especially for families. So I'm going to give her an opportunity to kind of showcase all of it, all the markets it captures, and to kind of, just share the delight of Fancourt, which is, again, one of these, hidden surprises that people find and never, ever want to leave. So over to you.
Thanks, Gabby. It's really amazing to meet you. And I think we're going to start off just showing you and welcoming you with our video. I think it really captures the essence of Fancourt and what we're all about when it comes to families.
Hey. are you coming along? Breathe in the love, open up your heart. And hey, are you coming on down? Bring in the light, open up your arms. And hey, are you coming along? Breathe in the love, open up your heart. And hey, are you coming on down? Bring in the light, open up your arms. Hey, hey, are you coming along? Are you coming along? Are you coming along? Hey, hey, are you coming along? Are you coming along? Are you coming along? Hey, hey, yeah, join the jubilation. Hey, yeah, join the celebration. Hey, are you coming along? Are you coming along? Are you coming along? Hey, hey, are you coming along? Are you coming along? Are you coming along? Hey.
So you would have seen that Fancourt is not just a golfer's paradise, but 613 hectares at the foot of the Outeniqua mountain range, based in George, which is situated on the garden route in the Western Cape. So getting there, if we move on to the map portion of the presentation, it's really simple. We have direct access from two major airports in Southern Africa, from Johannesburg and from Cape Town. Very short, easy access, flying time, 1 hour and 40 minutes from Johannesburg, a very short flight, 50 minutes from Cape Town, so really accessible. Another great way to get there is to do a road transfer from Cape Town, so moving on from Cape Town all the way into George. George Airport is only a 5-minute drive from Fancourt, so really accessible and in close proximity to the actual property. We have 2 hotels on the property. We have the Manor House, which is our leading hotel of the world, a member of leading hotels of the world. It's where Fancourt originally started in 1859, an original home to Henry Fancourt White. Children ages 16 years and older are welcome at Fancourt. And as you can see, old world luxury in a beautifully renovated boutique hotel. Total of 18 suites, all beautifully renovated with all the 5-star amenities you'd expect to find in a property of this caliber. Wi-Fi, underfloor heating. We've just upgraded TVs in the suites as well. The master suite is a 2-bedroom ensuite suite in the Manor House, with its own private lounge and dining area, and exactly where I'm sitting today. And if we move on, we'll see the beautiful gazebo, which is outside in the gardens, and we find a lot of our guests will enjoy an afternoon, a glass of wine, gin and tonic in the gardens or under the trees, where we can set up a beautiful private dining for them. And of course, the Manor House does lend itself to our discerning travelers. So really exclusive private areas, a highly acclaimed and award-winning boutique hotel, authentic and a personalized luxury with access to exclusive activities. And our guests get to immerse themselves in a boutique hotel rich in heritage and history for the area. We also move on to Fancourt, which is our 115-roomed luxury family and golf resort, and home to 3 of the top 20 courses ranked in Southern Africa. As I mentioned, 115 suites, various room types, with the entry level being a classic room, moving all the way to a 2-bedroom suite. Here, children of all ages are welcomed, and there's something for everybody to do at Fancourt. Keeping in mind, guests staying at the Manor House have access to all the facilities at Fancourt, giving them a little bit more exclusivity, as guests from Fancourt cannot access the Manor House. Fancourt is great for foodies, and we have 4 restaurants on the property, giving our guests a dining experience whilst they stay here with us. We have Henry White's, which is our classic fine dining restaurant. We move on to La Cantina, which is our Italian-styled restaurant, family-friendly pizzas, pasta, steaks. Monet's, which is our beautiful French deli restaurant, great for coffees, artisanal coffees, cakes, quiches, amazing salads. And then we have the club lounge, which we fondly refer to as the 19th hole, where most of our golfers tend to congregate in the afternoon. But again, authentic South African cuisine. Our chef is quite creative with the food. We also have our sports and leisure center, with our teen lounge with age-appropriate activities. We have a kids club for ages 3 to 10 years with daily program activities, scheduled activities, keep the kids busy during the day while mom and dad either play golf or visit the spa. We also have a cinema at the Sports and Leisure Centre, a gym, an indoor heated pool for cooler days, an outdoor swimming pool with a poolside cafe that serves pizzas and sushi. We have 4 tennis courts, 2 of them are floodlit, so you can still enjoy tennis in the evenings when it is a little bit darker. Fancourt lends itself to loads of outdoor open spaces and activities within the property. So all the sports equipment is freely available to our guests from the Sports and Leisure Centre, where they can just go and collect it and then return it when they're done. Fishing poles, bicycles, etc. Our beautiful award-winning spa, and this is the Roman bath that's pictured here. And guests staying with us receive complimentary access to the Roman bath, tepidarium, steam room, and saunas. So 12 treatment rooms in total. All the treatments are inspired by rituals around the world, and it's just an incredible experience and something that I recommend every guest staying with us should try and do. Of course, Vanguard is best known for our world-class golf facilities. We have 3 courses in total. Our 4th one being Bramble Hill, which is only 9 holes, but the 3 we're best known for is the Links, which is our privately owned course, ranked number 1 in South Africa, Montague number 8, and Otonika, which is ranked number 17. So Vanguard is situated on this map at number 8, and we have created what we call the golden triangle of authentic experiences. So everywhere within this golden triangle is within an hour's drive from Fancourt. So all these activities can be accessed as day trips from Fancourt when staying there. So Fancourt is a great place to base yourself and explore the garden routes, and great for family activities within the area. Lots to see and do. And what's really great about it is everything is on a micro industry. So it's not nearly as big and commercialized as you would find in all the larger cities. Wine tasting, chocolate tasting, game drives, amazing Portuguese varietals in the area. A lot of nature and adventure activities, which is really well known for the actual area. As you can see, whale watching, skydiving, bungee jumping. So Fancourt does have sustainability at the heart of our guest experience, and we do like guests to know that they do travel with purpose when staying with us. With every guest stay or round of goals, they directly contribute to any of these multiple initiatives, environmental and social initiatives that Fancourt partakes in. Fancourt adheres to all the COVID-19 protocols, and our guests are continually complimenting us that they feel safe and protected in our environment without the protocols being invasive or impacting on their stay. So that is Fancourt in a very brief nutshell. It's a highly acclaimed and award-winning estate, great for guilt-free family holidays, and home to 3 of the top 20 courses in Southern Africa.
Amazing, beautiful. I was falling in love with every single photo. When you said, bungee jumping and skydiving, you caught my attention too all over again. So phenomenal. What a gorgeous place. What a pleasure to be able to have you here to show everybody. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to visit again.
You're very welcome.
All right, that was a beautiful deep dive into one of my favorite places in the world. And I really am so grateful to all of our presenters that we've had here today, Peter, Lucinda, Taryn, and Ali. I want to thank them, and I want to thank you all for watching. Please feel free to share this video with your clients, because I can't think of a better sales tool than something like this that really brings you into the fold and allows you to really feel the destinations that we showcased today. You'll have everybody's contact information in the comments. You can feel free to reach out to them directly, and we look so forward to seeing you next time. So thanks again to the presenters, and we'll see you all soon.